Yep. All right, my friends. What we're going to talk a little about today is footwear. And we're going to keep this very simple because, of course, this is for basics. But before we even get in, I'm your host, The Wandering Avad, and welcome to the Tinder Bundle. And we're dealing with the Outdoors 101. Real basics, just to get you outside. So, one of the things we're going to be talking about is our footwear. And for example, as I just take a little detour, something like this. Let's flip this over. Snow. You don't want to go out in hiking in the snow. But you want at least some decent footwear, one that has good traction. Because if you're wearing other kind of shoes, you might be slipping and you endanger yourself. So what we're going to talk about today is your footwear to make it through whatever kind of terrain you might be at. But we're also going to talk about the different areas you can be at, your type of shoes, and where you might be able to find some of these shoes, which could be in very diverse places. But we want to make sure that you're in the proper footwear. The following video we'll make to these is about clothing. And what is your clothing setup for when you go out into the bush or out on the trail? But for now, we're going to focus on footwear. So let's get into it. Let's go back to the studio. All right, I guess it's we'll call this the laboratory. No, I don't really have a laboratory. Good afternoon. So we're just quickly talking about footwear for getting out, whether you're camping or out on the trail. Yes, there will be a little bit of a difference depending on what you're doing. But let's get right into this. So when you're out there, and right now our seasons are changing, you got to make sure your feet are prepared and protected from the elements. So for those of us who experience a winter, it is good to have, well, I got these Columbia, I don't know what they're called, but these little Columbia winter boots, right? And you'll notice I'm showing you these boots first for a reason. These boots are made with something called the Omni Heat system. So they insulate inside. They're also waterproof, which is very good because you don't want to get your feet wet if you're out on the trail. But here's the thing. If you take a look at the traction on these shoes, the traction is one directional. It's all going either if up or down, and you can tell that by the angles of how the tread is. So these are great for winter. And if you were winter hiking, these might do great too. But what I would encourage you to do is get a hiking boot. Now, I'll show you two examples of hiking boots that I have used. For example, I had acquired these. These are North Face. And it's Gore-Tex, so it's equally waterproof. But it's a lot more flexible and a lot more breathable. Soles, Vibram. Now, if you take a look at the soles, the directions change. Now, the reason why something like this is good for if you are hiking or say you're backpacking, you want to make sure your boot will be able to gain grip in whatever angle, whether you're going uphill, downhill, through a slant, on crevices, using just the corner sides. That's what you kind of want. A boot that will give you a lot of great angles and grip in your terrain. Now, these are what I've used on a winter hike. My preferred boot is from Columbia. I don't know. I really like Columbia's shoe. I actually like Columbia and North Face. They are some of my favorites. They're not the only kind of stuff I wear. Arc'teryx when it comes to clothing. But we're not talking about clothing. We're talking about boots. Now, These boots, what I really appreciated about these boots, I'm a person who likes light footwear. So I encourage you to think about how heavy you want your boots. There's a saying, for every heavy pound on the boot is 5 pounds on the back. And so, because you're lifting your feet so constantly, you want to make sure your boots are something that you are comfortable managing. These now, once again, treading all over the place. Now this type of boot, very lightweight. It doesn't use Gore-Tex, but it uses something called the out-dry system, which, once again, super light, more breathable than Gore-Tex. And if you put your foot in there, you might feel the coldness of the water, but your feet stay really dry. The only challenge you may have, and if I had brought in my old version, I bought these boots again, how much I love them, is they are so flexible, like they are more flexible than the Gore-Tex, the North Faces there that I showed you, that right here, the creases where you walk are normally the first things to get trashed out. But to me, the pros of this shoe, other than losing on that flexibility curve, and that tends to happen with a lot of boots, I think it's worth it. So you want a good pair of boots. Now this would not keep me as warm as my winter boots because they're graded differently and made differently. But I kind of use my hiking shoes all year round. So how do I make sure this boot can qualify to keep my feet warm? I know I can keep my feet dry. And this is where it comes to making sure the type of socks you wear. Socks make all the difference on how your shoes will fit. And a lot of people encourage, get an insole to help, even padding and make it a more comfortable hike. These are merino wool socks. I'm a big fan of merino wool. They keep you warm, keep you dry, and they're just fabulous types of socks. Good hiking socks I would encourage when you're hiking on the trail or if you're backpacking to a site. Now, if you're doing car camping, some of this may not matter as much because you may not decide to go on a hike. You may be just going in and out from the vehicle to the tent and just a little walks here and there. In cases like those, you can get away with more leniency with your footwear. But I encourage you, don't think, now here are my hamburger socks. A little thin socks is going to really protect you from the element. Your feet will probably get cold. So having a good merino wool socks or even darn tough socks, Keen makes some very great socks, I find. There's all sorts of brands out there. What I'm trying to say though is get socks that will protect your feet, keep it cushioned, moisture wick outwards, but still keep you warm. Because socks is one of those things you even bring an extra of when you're on certain trips. But let's get back to footwear. You don't have to have hiking boots if you don't want. The whole thing is getting out there. I believe it's the safest, best bet to go. But if you have strong feet, and say it's a summertime, springtime, there are other options. I used to use these on the trail a lot. These are Minimus from New Balance. And I would use these when I want to move fast. In these cases, now, as you can see, these have been really worn out. They're very lightweight, very breathable. They are not waterproof. So this is not something, if you are intending your feet not to get wet, this will not help you. But the grips work very well. So you could go with what they call a trail runner. If you've got great ankles, great knees, I encourage you, try them out. Very good for moving light and fast. Now, the last things that I want to share with you is, in certain cases, you may need certain things to help you. For example, in the wintertime out here in Canada, we sometimes need what are called crampons. They're little things that you slip on. Now, I can't find my good crampons. I don't know where I put them. But these here are a little cheap version, and these rings dig into the ice to make it harder for you to slip on ice. And another thing that can help you is having a pair of snowshoes. Sometimes the snow gets high, and these help you to float above the snow. Snowshoes are graded for your weight size, so you make sure you get what works best. If you take a look, they come with claws on them as well, grids. So not only will you float, there is ice gripping devices in them, and you snap your shoes in and bind yourself up. So friends, that's what I got for you today when it comes to footwear. Oh, lastly, and something that I've enjoyed doing, especially in the spring, is if you have strong enough feet, you can go barefoot. What I'm trying to say here is, in regards of barefoot, I got sidetracked. You can buy these little foot pads that you put on the bottom for just a little bit of barrier protection. But there are times I like to go strictly bare feet. Get one and integrate my feet with the soil and get grounded into it. But what I'm trying to say here is, the whole thing is get the body out there. And depending on the terrain you're going, make sure you have footwear that will protect you, keep you safe, so that you can enjoy your trips as you're getting out there. So, if you are still intending on getting out, I consider you from now, start planning, shopping around. You could look for stores, at least for here in Canada, where we've got Sport Check has some hiking boots, but you'll find better stuff at stores like Sale, Mountain Equipment Co-op, Atmosphere, Cabela's, Bass Pro Shop. These are stores where you will find, I'll put some of the links in the bottom here. So look for a nice pair of boots, a nice pair of hiking boots. In my opinion, get at least a 3/4 so you're still protecting your ankle, which can be very beneficial sometimes when you're going through certain rocky terrains or very sharp, sticky terrain. But that's what you got to do. Make sure you protect your feet, have fun out there, and enjoy the hiking, or enjoy just being out in the woods or in nature. I hope this has helped somebody out. I guess we seem to have had a little glitch right there, so I just want to wrap it up and just say, you know what? This is what we got to say about footwear. So get your feet girded up. This is the Wandering Avad, and thank you for joining us here at the Tinder Bundle on Outdoor Series 101. Anyhow, get on out there. I know you're going to enjoy yourself. God bless.